There were 3 rules I was told to follow. A charismatic instructor welcomes his new students. He promises a lesson that is simple yet essential. The first rule, always uphold and protect the innocent. The second, place honor and integrity above all else. And the third, serve others with selfless humility. He then turns his attention to a boy named Novice, but these noble words hide a much darker purpose. With a flourish, the instructor unveils their first test, a practical lesson on the most efficient way to feed. The rest of the class looks disturbingly eager to learn, and our boy, Nova, is left wondering one thing. How did he end up at a vampire academy? The story rewinds 6 months to a brutal skirmish. A group of merchants had been captured by bandits. Rescue seemed impossible for all but one adventurer. This was Nova Stormrider, a hero with a very dapper sidekick, and his little companion prepares to lend its power. Unleashing a powerful acceleration buff, Nova's becomes a blur of righteous fury. The bandit leader can't believe his eyes. He cuts through the horde with blinding speed, closing the distance to the leader in an instant. The blow is decisive, leaving the bandit defeated. But instead of fear, the man shows a twisted respect. He dares Novas to finish the job and claim his prize, but Novas chooses justice over vengeance. He declares the bandit captured in his name. His comrades arrive stunned by his victory, but the bandit's parting words hang in the air, a chilling promise. The bandit leader mocks Novice's mercy, reminding him the bounty allowed for a fatal end. He scoffs at our hero's so-called way. He questions the logic of slaying monsters but sparing men. As he's dragged off, he promises Novice will regret being too soft. The bandit's words linger, planting a seed of doubt in Novice's mind. But his little companion offers a reassuring tap on the shoulder. A comrade in Golden Armor Park insists he followed their code perfectly. Nova seems to accept his friend's words, though his eyes remain distant. Their duty complete, the adventurers return to Mosswood Village. They march the captured bandits through the town square for all to see. The crowd whispers in awe of Novice's growing legend. He is hailed as a symbol of hope for all of humanity. Park notices his friend's troubled expression and asks if he's all right. Novice finally voices his doubt, questioning if their path is truly the right one. Park quickly dismisses his concerns, stating the order would be proud. But the word proud feels empty, triggering a painful memory. He remembers a time when he was a young boy, thanking a stranger for saving him, a helpless child beaten, and with nothing to offer his rescuer. The man simply told him to become an adventurer he could be proud of. This was the world back then, a constant struggle against monsters and men. But over time, the threats grew, becoming far more powerful, and humanity was pushed to the very edge of destruction. The king had no choice but to grant a new power to worthy adventurers, the system. And Novice, along with his dapper sidekick, was one of those chosen. He was raised on the 3 noble rules we heard at the start of our story. As one of the strongest in his order, he was deemed worthy of the system's power. For Novice, this was a second chance, a debt he had to repay. He believes the only way to honor his past is by getting stronger. His goal is to reach level 40, a benchmark for a mission from the king. Back in the present, Park tells him the people even have a nickname for him. Their destination is the Duskwatch Guildhall. Inside, a worried young man waits for help. The other adventurers are surprised to see Novice back so soon. But our hero wastes no time heading straight for the quest board. His friend Sly questions his relentless drive to find another mission. Novice has his eyes on a particular quest that no one else will take. Sly points out the obvious. The reward is laughably small for a monster den dive. He tries to talk sense into him, saying it's been a week and it's likely too late. But for Novice, even the smallest chance of saving someone is enough. Sly sighs, wishing his friend was just a little more motivated by greed. Novice declares the true reward is virtue itself, a line that impresses absolutely no one. Another comrade points out that once Novice gets an idea, there's no stopping him. He then reveals he'd prefer a rescue mission for his final quest. The words final quest catch both Novice and Sly by surprise. Their friend is retiring to be a father, and Novice tries to let him off the hook. But Sly won't hear of it, reminding him of the guild's 3-person rule. He grins, saying someone has to protect the protector. Novice is taken aback, hearing his new nickname for the first time. His friends confirm it's what they call him, a title earned through countless rescues. Park tries to volunteer, but another adventurer holds him back. He tells Park to stay and recover from his injuries. He reminds him that as a follower of the same code, his duty is to watch over the guild. And so the party of 3 sets out as dusk begins to fall. They arrive at a quiet farm on the outskirts of town. The quest giver explains his brother vanished near the Chlorift caves. The young man had simply gone chasing after a runaway animal. But an hour passed and he never came back. Sly asks the obvious question. Why didn't he go looking himself? The man admits his fear, knowing he'd be no match for the monsters. All he asks is that if his brother is gone, they bring his body home. Sly turns to Novice, asking for the final decision. He points out the grim reality of the situation, but Novice's resolve doesn't waver for a second. He insists that providing closure is a worthy cause. Their retiring friend warns the man not to get his hopes up. As they leave, the quest giver collapses in apparent grief, but a sinister red glow appears in his eyes. Well, that's not the look of a worried brother. The party arrives at the ominous Chlorift caves. They find fresh bloodstains at the entrance. Inside, the cave is eerily quiet with no monsters in sight. Novice warns his friends to stick close together. They venture deeper into the vast winding tunnels. Sly notes that searching this place could take them days. Suddenly, a powerful gust of wind rushes through the cavern. It extinguishes their torches, plunging them into darkness. Novice calmly prepares to cast a spell. He activates a skill, creating a ball of pure light. For a split second, a monstrous form is visible in the shadows. Novice blinks, thinking his eyes are playing tricks on him. He peers into the darkness, trying to make sense of what he saw, but the passage ahead now appears completely empty. Sly asks if he's alright, joking that he saw a ghost. Novice's eyes widen in sheer terror. A horrifying creature has silently appeared behind his friend. He screams out a desperate warning. The monster lunges, its fangs bared, but Sly turns with a confident smirk, ready for a fight. A hand strikes with devastating fatal force. Sly's world fades to black in a moment of disbelief. As he stares, a horrifying thought clicks into place. He remembers Park's words about their unwavering code. But in this darkness, their code means nothing. His dying friend's only request is for vengeance. Novice is paralyzed by shock and absolute fury. The creature that struck them down simply grins, a cruel human-like smile. The scene triggers another memory, a different cave, a different failure. He remembers fighting alongside 2 other comrades, Stefan and Grant. Man, this guy has terrible luck with caves. His little companion had screamed a warning about an attack from behind. Novice had turned ready to face the threat. He activated his signature skill, Accelerate. He vowed then, as he does now, not to lose anyone else. A clawed creature had lunged for his friend, and its face was one Novice knew all too well. With blinding speed, he cut the monster down. His friend Grant cried out his name in relief. Novice quickly checked to see if his comrades were safe. But the situation was confusing. Were these monsters or bandits? Novice's expression turned grim as he realized someone was missing. Suddenly, his companion screams his name again. He looks up and a cold sweat runs down his spine. A dark figure with glowing red eyes watched them from the shadows. It unleashed a devastating attack made of pure dark energy. Novice reacted instantly, preparing a defensive skill. He throws up a crescent block to protect his friends. The 2 forces collide in a blinding explosion of light and shadow. But the sinister red energy lingers, corrupting the very ground. Grant tried to reassure a terrified Stefan, putting his faith in Novice. Famous last words, probably. But Novice knew they were at a disadvantage in the dark. He called on his friend for light, but the young mage was frozen in fear. Stefan finally snaps out of his terror, casting a light spell. The cavern is flooded with light, revealing the full scale of the ambush. The creatures shriek, recoiling from the sudden blinding flash. The light seems to be their weakness, causing them intense pain. Seeing their vulnerability, Novice prepares to press the attack. He activates Accelerate, moving in to disarm the nearest foe. The blow is swift and brutally effective, but as he looks at the fallen creature, a detail stands out. Despite the fangs and claws, they look disturbingly human. Well, this just got awkward. His comrade Grant, however, has no such reservations. He cuts another one down, urging Novice to see them for what they are. He knows his friend's code against taking human life, but he argues that these things are far from human now. Novice is paralyzed, his code clashing with the grim reality before him. The doubt planted by the bandit leader begins to take root. Grant declares that if Novice can't act, he will, but the enemy doesn't wait for him to make up his mind. Forced back into the fight, Novice analyzes their movements. He's shocked by their incredible unnatural speed. Their raw strength is also off the charts. They're more powerful than almost any monster he's ever faced, but it's the look in their eyes that truly unnerves him. He sees nothing but pure, unadulterated bloodlust, and to his horror, one of them begins to activate a skill. A look of pure malice spreads across its face. It unleashes a powerful push, sending Nova staggering back. Grant sees the opening and moves in for the final blow. With a mighty swing, he finishes the creature off. The shadowy leader is stunned that a mere paladin can match their power. It identifies the light mage as the primary threat and orders his elimination. The leader moves with impossible speed, grabbing the young mage. He lifts Stefan by the throat, complaining about the annoying light. The boy struggles for air, his face a mask of pure terror. Novice screams his friend's name, his voice filled with rage. A single tear of despair rolls down Stefan's cheek. The villain mocks the mage's staff, calling it a fragile, useless toy. Novice and Grant stand back to back, preparing for a desperate defense. Their expressions are grim, knowing they're completely outmatched. Novice activates one of his most powerful defensive skills. He pours all his energy into creating a holy barrier. A shield of pure light erupts, protecting the two warriors. The shadowy leader is unimpressed, calling the display flashy. He gathers dark energy into his fist and strikes the shield. The holy barrier shatters like glass against his overwhelming power. Grant can only watch in horror as the attack breaks through. The cavern is consumed by a devastating explosion. So much for that level 3 barrier. When the dust settles, the leader stands over Grant's defeated form. Novice is thrown back, wounded and struggling to process the loss. Another comrade, a young Park, cries out in disbelief. The leader adds insult to injury, pinning Grant to the ground. This final act of cruelty pushes Novice over the edge. The villain turns, sensing the sudden surge of immense power. Novice becomes a blur of righteous fury charging forward. He clashes with the leader, his blade crackling with holy energy. The creature seems amused, calling Novice a little monster himself. Novice roars back, vowing he will never become like him. The bandit's words echo in his mind, questioning the system's true purpose. He tells his companion to unleash all of their remaining power. Our hero is ready to sacrifice everything in this one final attack. He remembers his promise to build a world where no one suffers like he did. The villain finds this sudden burst of power rather interesting. He challenges Novice to show him what a mere human can truly do. The two clash in a blinding flurry of light and shadow. But the leader just grins, deciding Novice is too good to kill here. Before our hero can react, more shadowy figures emerge from the darkness. He's caught off guard as one of the creatures lands a vicious blow. Novice cries out, stunned by the sudden overwhelming assault. He's driven to his knees, barely able to support himself. Guess that power-up had a short battery life. The monstrous horde closes in, their faces twisted in cruel delight. They overwhelm him with a flurry of attacks, laughing at his pain. The leader's hand reaches out, ready to claim his prize. He grabs Novice by the hair, pulling him into a helpless position. He offers a chilling reassurance that this is not the end, and in a flash of fangs, he delivers a venomous bite. Novice's world shatters in a moment of agonizing shock. His final thoughts are of his own complete and utter failure. He couldn't even take the monster down with him. He collapses to the ground, utterly defeated. His little companion screams his name in a desperate panic. It tries to wake him, warning that their end is near. But the leader is suddenly distracted by an unexpected sound. A brilliant flash of light strikes him from the side. It's Sly, grievously wounded but somehow still standing. His eyes burn with a final defiant resolve. He reveals a fatal wound, glad he could save his friend one last time. His body trembles, his strength finally giving out. With his last breath, he calls Novice by his title, Protector. And then Sly collapses, his duty finally done. The leader is stunned, realizing the adventurer he'd struck down was still alive. But as he turns, he sees Novice rising, thanking his fallen friend for the reminder that it's not over. His face twists into a mask of pure, unadulterated rage. With a final desperate roar, he unleashes everything he has left. His blade slams into the ground, a conduit for his fury. A massive wave of holy energy erupts from him. The cavern is consumed by a blinding blue light. The sheer force of the attack shakes the very foundations of the cave. The leader can't believe the power coming from a mere human. Novice puts every last ounce of his will into this final strike. The two forces collide in a cataclysmic explosion. When the dust settles, Novice is on the ground, completely spent. His little companion confirms they're running on empty. Novice gasps for air, certain that had to be enough, but then he feels a strange sensation from the bite on his neck. A red warning light flashes across his vision. The system itself is sounding an alarm. Suddenly, companion is engulfed in a sinister red aura. It cries out as its very form begins to corrupt. A new message appears. The system has been infected. Well, that's not good. Novice finds himself floating in a dark, empty void. He looks around completely disoriented, and then he sees them, the ghosts of his failures. He demands to know where they are, how this is possible, but one of his fallen friends has a question of his own. He asks Novice why he failed to protect them. The accusation freezes our hero in his tracks. Their faces twist in agony, their screams echoing in his mind. He reaches out trying to apologize for his weakness, but his touch causes them to dissolve into a viscous red substance. He finds himself sinking into a pool of his own guilt. Overwhelmed, he can only scream, lost in this waking nightmare. A twisted version of himself appears in the nightmare. Taunts him, twisting his own title into an insult. He realizes that even with the system's power, he failed. He questions the very code that defined his entire life. Would abandoning his honor have saved his friends? He desperately wishes for an escape from this reality. He prays that this is all just a terrible dream. With a ragged gasp, he snaps back to consciousness. He sits up in the cave hoping it was all in his head, but the memories of the brutal attack come flooding back. He forces himself up, the grim truth setting in. He scans the cavern where the battle took place, but there's no sign of the fight, no bodies, nothing. He starts to question his own sanity, but a familiar voice tells him he's not going crazy. He turns to see his little companion, Chip, but something is very, very different about him. His dapper sidekick has had a demonic makeover. Chip panics, wondering if he's turned into a monster. Novice knows that a navigator's form should be permanent. If Chip was altered, then the system itself is compromised. The infection warning flashes again, a result of the vampire's bite. He immediately orders Chip to pull up his status. His stats appear, but they're completely wrong. He's been reset to level 1, all his progress wiped. But his base stats are unusually high for a beginner, and there's a new stat he's never seen before since. A reset like this should be impossible without the king's authority. But first, he has a duty to his fallen comrades. After hours of searching, they find no trace of anyone. Chip suggests they head back to the village for help. He tries to comfort his friend, but Novice is lost in his failure. He asks Chip about monster venom that can infect people or worse, change them into something else entirely. Chip confirms many monsters use poison, but none can alter a person's being. Novice cuts through the brush, his mind on the cave's inhabitants. He recalls their faces, how disturbingly human they looked. This sends Chip into a full-blown panic about his new look. Novice quickly shuts down the conversation, clearly not in the mood for an identity crisis. He tries to write it off as paranoia from the long night, but as the morning sun breaks through the trees, his skin begins to burn with an unbearable heat. Both he and Chip cry out, overwhelmed by the sudden agony. A new system message confirms the horrifying truth. The sun is now his enemy, draining his stats and health. He can't believe this is happening, certain it must be a glitch. Real or not, he tells Chip they need to find shade, and fast. He spots a rock formation offering some much-needed cover. They make a desperate dash for it, collapsing in the shadow. The system confirms his stats have returned to normal. He checks his status, confirming everything, but his HP is restored. And just when things couldn't get weirder, a new quest appears. The objective is simple and utterly horrifying. The system wants him to consume human blood to heal. He refuses to accept it, convinced the system is broken. But it doubles down, offering bonuses for different blood types. A rewards program from hell. He desperately tries to find another explanation for the message. His only goal now is to get back to the village and fix this. But the moment he steps into the light, the pain returns. He pushes forward, repeating that this is all just a terrible glitch. He forces himself to a stop, sensing something in the air. A new horrifying instinct kicks in, the sweet scent of people nearby. He moves with unnatural speed, drawn toward the source. The scent leads him to a small isolated house in the woods. His eyes widen in shock at the scene before him. He's found the source of the smell, a freshly slain body. An overwhelming urge pulls him toward the fallen man, so much for his new diet. He fights the instinct, questioning why he's so drawn to this. His eyes glow as the hunger begins to take over his mind. The system chimes in, tempting him with a taste. His hand hovers over the pool, his willpower fading. The thought of just one taste echoes in his mind. But with a surge of will, he clenches his fist and refuses. He turns away, declaring that the dead deserve their peace. The realization of what he almost did sends him into a panic. He tells Chip they have to leave to get away from the temptation, but the scent of blood seems to follow them as they flee. Chip panics as they step back into the sun, Novice's skin burning again. The system's constant notifications are really starting to get on his nerves. He knows that at this rate he won't last much longer, but he still refuses to give in to the system's horrifying quest. He leans against a tree, assuring Chip they just need to reach the village. Chip asks how he knows the village is nearby. Novas just calls it a hunch, relying on his new terrifying sense. And sure enough, they spot a town just through the trees. But as they get closer, Novas suddenly stops, covering his mouth. The scent of the entire village hits him at once, an overwhelming wave of hunger. He can't believe it's possible to send so many people from this far away. The life force of every villager calls to him, a siren song of blood. He fights with every fiber of his being to stop himself from losing control. He slams his hand against a tree, trying to fight the urge. He even bashes his head against it, desperate to regain control. He knows he can't go near the village, not like this. The thought of what he might do to those people is too horrifying. He collapses to his knees, overwhelmed by this monstrous new instinct. A desperate scream tears through the silent forest, and the system chimes in with a less than helpful update on his bloodlust. He clutches his chest, begging himself to stop these thoughts. He wonders if this is how he's forced to live now. Suddenly, a rustling in the bushes breaks the silence. A massive boar charges out, its eyes glowing with rage. Chip panics, blaming Novice's earlier screaming fit for attracting it. Novice can't believe it, a level 5 beast against a level 1 adventurer. He knows he has to move, but his body is still weak. But at the last second, he dodges with surprising speed. The beast thunders past, missing him completely. He's stunned he could move that fast at level 1. He didn't even need to use his signature accelerate skill, but there's no time to think as the boar turns for another attack. He decides to create some space with a quick strike to its side. His fist glows with a strange, unfamiliar red energy. He lands a powerful blow, hoping to analyze its weakness. The impact sends a shockwave through the trees, but Chip points out the obvious. The fight is already over. The system confirms it, granting him a measly 50 experience points. Nova stares at his hand, questioning this newfound strength, and then the horrifying realization hits him. He asks Chip if drinking the beast's blood will free him from this curse. Chip admits he doesn't know, but notes they feel stronger now that it's night. Novice realizes he feels stronger too, a creature of the dark. He knows he has to stop the system before his HP hits 0. He'll do anything to silence the monstrous thoughts in his head, and in a moment of desperation, he gives in to the urge. But he immediately rejects it, the taste utterly repulsive. He realizes the animal's blood lacks the same pull as a human's, but the hunger only grows, his health draining with every second. He screams, trying to force the monstrous voice from his mind. The internal battle pushes him to the very edge of his sanity. He finds a new tool in the wreckage of his fight. With a sharp crack, he breaks off the boar's tusk. A crazed laugh escapes him as a dark idea takes hold. He remembers his code. He protects people and hunts monsters. And if he's become a monster, there's only one thing to do. He prepares to protect the world from himself permanently, but a voice cuts through the silence, a woman asking if he's all right. Well, this is awkward. He warns her to stay away from the bloody scene. His eyes glow red as the hunger threatens to take over. His new senses show him her life force in horrifying detail. The tusk falls from his hand as he's completely overwhelmed. A vision appears, a dark figure on a throne telling him to calm down. The voice in his head screams for blood, a relentless, maddening chant. Novus fights back, refusing to become what the voice wants. He struggles to reassure the woman that he means her no harm, but she sees only a wounded man and moves closer to help. Ignoring his pleas, she grabs his arm to steady him. The simple touch sends a shockwave through his senses. He can feel her heartbeat, a deafening drum in his mind. He can even sense the very blood flowing through her veins. Luckily for him, this stranger came prepared with a healing potion. She pours the expensive liquid onto a cloth, ready to treat his wounds. But the potion's touch burns him, draining his health even faster. Chip screams at him to get the potion away, realizing it's poison to him now. With a surge of strength, Novus pushes the woman away from him. He clutches his head, a strange sense of calm washing over him. For the first time in hours, the monstrous voice in his mind is silent. Chip asks if he's feeling better, his demonic duplicates causing mischief. The woman, still concerned, offers to take him to her nearby camp for help, but the thought of being near more people sends a jolt of fear through him. He realizes the potion, while harmful, also suppressed his bloodlust. Chip, ever the helpful sidekick, suggests a much simpler, bloodier solution. He argues that if Novus dies, he'll be all alone in this world. The little navigator puts on quite the dramatic performance. Novus realizes his friend has changed ever since the system was infected. This new, crueler personality is a direct result of the vampire's curse. As they walk, the woman mentions strange monsters have been spotted nearby. Novus immediately asks for a description, wondering if they looked human. She's stunned by his question, confirming his suspicion. Suddenly, a hidden rope trap springs from the ground. It wraps around the woman's ankle, pulling her off her feet. She's hoisted into the air before Novus can react. He wonders if this is the work of the human-like monsters, but in the end, that detail doesn't matter. His code is clear. His job is to protect people. He cuts the rope, but something is wrong. He turns to find the woman has completely vanished. Chip suggests using his new sense skill, not missing a chance to say "I told you so." Novus ignores him, closing his eyes to concentrate, but the skill overwhelms him with a flood of sensory information. And amidst the chaos, he picks up a familiar, horrifying scent. Before he can process it, a figure strikes him from the shadows. He's knocked out cold, his health hanging by a single thread. His captors debate what to do with him, noting his fame. Chip desperately tries to wake him, sensing the danger they're in. Novus finally comes to, completely disoriented. He struggles to focus, the world a painful blur. And then he realizes he's bound and trapped inside a cage. They've been captured and brought to a bandit camp. So much for a friendly rescue. The woman he saved is giving orders to the bandits. She smirks, mocking how easily the famous adventurer fell for her trap. Chip is furious, realizing they were played from the very beginning. A voice from the darkness asks if he was tricked too. He's not alone. Another adventurer sits wounded, a victim of the same woman. He recounts how his own party was led through the woods. They began to feel a strange sudden exhaustion. A mysterious drowsiness had taken hold of them all. Soon the entire party had collapsed, completely helpless. One of them begged the woman, Sandra, for help, but she simply turned on them, her true intentions revealed. She reveals she had drugged their drinks, taking them down without a fight. Novus can't understand how someone so cruel could be part of the guild. His cellmate confirms she had an official quest, just like the one Novus took. The weight of his own failure crashes down on him. The bandit's words echo in his mind, mocking his precious code. Suddenly, the other prisoner begins coughing up blood. Chip confirms the man's wound is fatal. He doesn't have long. The scent of fresh blood triggers Novus's curse, his hunger returning. The dying man has one final request for our hero. Novus trembles, fighting a desperate battle against his own instincts. The man asked him to kill the bandits, but Novus has never taken a human life. But with his last breath, he calls them monsters, begging for vengeance. He grits his teeth, hating what he's about to do, but he gives in, vowing to use this new power to stop the wicked. He's flooded with the man's final memories of betrayal, and he wonders if these are the same bandits he once spared. The dying man smiles, his final wish granted. The system confirms the quest is complete, restoring his health and granting him a level. With a new terrifying resolve, Novus makes a promise to himself. The system rewards his choice with a brand new deadly skill, a real killer feature. Meanwhile, two of Novus's comrades search the woods, a sense of unease in the air. They've received a ransom note for a captured noble. Park is worried, noting that Novus's party never returned. His companion leaps ahead to scout, finding the bandit camp. Inside, Novus is still trapped in his cage. Sandra approaches, mocking the two prisoners, but she's met with a chilling silence from Novus. A flicker of fear crosses her face. She quickly masks it with a show of disgust. She calls her pathetic gesture a morning shower. She then orders her men to wake the other prisoner. She can't wait to see his face when his family abandons him, but one of the bandits realizes something is terribly wrong. Sandra rushes in desperate to protect her payday. She demands to know what happened, unaware of the shadow behind her. She panics realizing her prize is gone forever, but a calm voice tells her they became friends and that he received a very special gift. The system confirms another kill as Nova stands over her, his hand a bloody claw. The commotion alerts the rest of the camp. The bandits scream for blood, ready to avenge their leader. But Nova is ready, telling Chip to pour all his new points into agility. Chip eagerly confirms the stat change, ready for the fight. The first bandit charges in, swinging a massive blade, but Nova's is already gone, a blur of motion. He appears behind his foe, his hand a glowing red claw. The blow is swift, silent, and absolutely devastating. The system chimes in rewarding him for the kill. He then takes the man's sword, needing a proper weapon. He may have lost his skills, but his new speed is terrifying. This is going to be a very short-staffed bandit camp. He cuts through the remaining men in a flash of red light. His face is a mask of cold fury, a promise of their end. In moments, the entire camp is silenced. Chip seems to have enjoyed the carnage a little too much, but Nobis just stares at the aftermath of his actions. Suddenly, slow clap echoes from the trees. It's the bandit leader questioning Novus's broken code. Novus recognizes the man he spared months ago. He remembers choosing justice over vengeance. The bandit mocks him, calling him the king's monster. Chip, ever the voice of reason, suggests biting him. Novus roars back that these monsters deserve their fate, but the leader is already moving, his blade a silver arc. The blow connects, and Novus questions if he can win now. He meets the next strike head-on, their weapons clashing, but his hand stops the blade cold, surprising them both. He drops his own sword, planting it in the ground. The bandit presses the attack, but Novus is too fast. He takes a cut to the arm just to close the distance. He realizes that at level 1, he's completely outmatched. The bandit leader kneels, ready for the final blow. He mocks Novus, enjoying this little role reversal. Chip insists that, with his old skills, this fight would be over. The bandit leader swings his sword, telling Novus to embrace his inner monster. He brings the blade down, declaring that they are one and the same. But Novus glares back, refusing to accept that fate. A new skill activates, draining his own life force for power. His hand erupts in red energy, shattering the bandit's sword. He thanks the bandit for reminding him of what he's become, and with a single strike, he unleashes his newfound fury. The bandit leader is sent flying, crashing hard against a tree. He coughs up blood, stunned by this impossible strength. He realizes this terrifying power feeds on life itself. He scoffs, asking if Novus still believes they're any different. He points to the fallen, claiming all humans are monsters just trying to survive. Novus agrees some can be better, but he is no longer one of them. Just then, his comrade from the guild finally arrives on the scene. The bandit leader drops a final devastating truth. He works with the guild. The accusation hits Novus harder than any physical blow. The bandit smirks, insisting that, in the end, everyone is corrupt. But his words are cut short as his life begins to fade. Chip seems disappointed that the show is already over. Nova stands over the fallen man, having fulfilled his final promise. He stares at the carnage, questioning everything he thought he knew. The idea that the guild betrayed him sends his mind into a spiral. He wonders if he's been fighting for the wrong side all along. Chip, ever the pragmatist, suggests a quick meal to restore his HP. Novus is disgusted by the very thought of what he's suggesting. He fights back a wave of revulsion. Chip can't keep up with his friend's sudden mood swings, but Novus knows his demonic little sidekick has a point. He collapses, realizing he's now a danger to everyone around him. The bandit's final words confirm his darkest suspicions about the guild, but he knows that at his current level he's powerless to act. He decides that to stay sane, he must embrace this monstrous power. His fangs extend as he prepares to cross a line he can never uncross. The system rewards his choice, unlocking a new skill from the rare blood type. He's shocked by the taste, finding it addictively sweet. There are no memories this time, just a surge of pure raw power. The feeling is intoxicating, and a dangerous part of him already wants more. A sudden rustling in the bushes snaps him out of his trance. He turns to see his comrade has finally arrived at the scene. She stares in absolute horror, calling out his name in disbelief. She sees not a hero, but a monster standing over his prey. Without a word, Novas drops the body and flees into the forest. He can't let her see the bloody claws his hands have become. She's left trembling, unable to comprehend what she just witnessed. He vanishes into the shadows, leaving only questions behind. Chip jokes that she thought she was on the menu, and Novice can't really blame her. He wonders if the system is forcing his hand or if this is who he is now. He clutches his guild emblem, a symbol of the code he just shattered. With a cry of self-loathing, he crushes it in his fist. Chip, ever the pragmatist, asks what their next move is. Novas knows he can't go back until he can control this dark power. Chip is more than happy to help him grind some levels. With his resolve hardened, Novas clenches his fist. He vows to get strong enough to uncover the guild's corruption. Chip suggests a quick wardrobe change courtesy of the recently deceased. Novice grimly accepts that grave robbing is the least of his sins now. A few days pass, the sun shining on a seemingly peaceful village. But inside the Duskwatch Guild Hall, the mood is somber. The other adventurers mourn the loss of their greatest hero. Park clings to a sliver of hope for his missing friends. His comrade tries to be realistic, noting how long they've been gone. But Park refuses to believe anyone could have defeated Novice. Another adventurer bluntly tells him to accept their deaths. The words send Park into a rage, slamming his fist on the table. He glares, his grief turning into pure, unadulterated fury. Just then, two other adventurers walk through the hall. One of them, Taksin, sees Novice's absence as a career opportunity. Park immediately confronts the arrogant adventurer. He reminds Taksin that Novice always had to clean up his messes. The contempt in his eyes is clear for all to see, but Taksin claims he handled the recently escaped bandits himself. The other guild members seem to buy his story. He laughs, already picturing himself as the new system user. He confidently walks off to claim a reward he didn't earn. But the female comrade knows the truth. Taksin is lying. She grips her mug, her expression grim and knowing. She recalls the horrifying image of Novice at the bandit camp. Meanwhile, far away in the forest, Chip asks Novice how he's adjusting to his new darker system. Novas admits it's strange, lacking the usual analysis skills. Instead of stats, he can now see everyone's blood type, a very niche skill set. He explains that different types grant different amounts of experience, and the rarest blood types offer a unique advantage. They grant him a growing resistance to the sun. Leveling up also lets him survive longer without feeding. Their journey has brought them to a place called Winklaw Hollow. A sinister energy pours out from the cave entrance. Novice is determined, needing just one more level from this hunt. He draws his blade, ready to face whatever lies within. His quest is simple. Reach level 5. Back at the guild, a comrade asks Claire what she saw that day. She's haunted by the memory, admitting she saw something terrible. She describes creatures that live in the dark, beings with eyes that glow with a sinister red light and an unwavering, insatiable hunger for blood. Her friend guesses she's talking about a simple bat. He's not the sharpest tool in the guild. Claire shakes her head, clearly frustrated by his guess. She asks if he's ever heard of a far more dangerous legend. A legend whispered in the dark. Vampires. Meanwhile, Novice cuts down another monster in the cave. He notes the paltry experience gain, realizing this will take a while. He stands before a massive horde of the creatures. Chip points out the silver lining. At least there's a lot of them. Novice becomes a whirlwind of steel diving into the swarm. He raises his blade ready to thin the herd. He deflects a powerful attack from a larger beast. The smaller creatures swarm him from all sides. He unleashes his new skill, the Blood Claw. He leaps onto the head of the largest monster and drives his corrupted hand straight through its skull. The system rewards him with another tiny bit of experience. He realizes the EXP for killing monsters is insultingly low. He continues the fight, kicking another creature away. His eyes glow with a cold, deadly focus. He cuts through another foe with blinding speed. He stands victorious, the last of the monsters falling, but he knows this pales in comparison to the power gained from a human life. He wonders if this is how the vampire leader grew so strong. By murdering his friends and feeding on their power. He dashes through the cave, a blur of motion against the remaining monsters. The bird-like creatures swarm him, but he's ready for the fight. But a beam of sunlight breaks through the ceiling, weakening him instantly. He groans, realizing the one thing he came here to avoid has found him. He knows he's nowhere near as strong as he used to be, but he has to work with what he's got, tapping into his new darker power. The system confirms the activation of his Blood Claw skill. He lands a devastating blow, shattering the creature before him. The system notes he's no longer affected by indirect sunlight. Well, that's convenient. With his stats returned to normal, he finishes off the larger beast. He turns to the rest of the horde, a predator ready for the hunt. Another monster falls, granting him a measly 15 experience points. He realizes this new power is a double-edged sword, draining his own life force. Chip suggests the obvious solution. Just go find some humans to snack on. Novas grabs his sword, admitting to himself that he broke his code, but he grits his teeth, vowing to hold on to the rules that once defined him. With a surge of resolve, he prepares to face the next wave. Another monster dives from the shadows ready to strike, but Novice leaps to meet it, accepting this new life he's been forced to live. He delivers a powerful kick, stopping the creature in its tracks. He follows up with a swift, clean slash of his blade and brings the sword down for the final decisive blow. The system chimes in with another tiny reward for his efforts, but it's enough. He's finally reached level 5, completing his quest. Chip celebrates as Novas stands over his final kill for the day, but a new notification appears, one that will change everything. The system officially unlocks his race, Vampire. He finally understands what those creatures in the cave were. The horrifying truth crashes down on him. He's become just like them. He grits his teeth, forced to accept his new monstrous identity. And with this new identity comes a new kind of sight. The system offers him a choice for his new class. 3 paths lie before him: warrior, manipulator, or spellbinder. He's stunned, having never heard of a class upgrade before. The old system had classes, but these are entirely new. He starts with the first option, the Night Warrior. Touching the card floods his mind with information. The Night Warrior is a master of physical strength and speed. It also offers bonus stat points with every level up. A tempting offer for a grinder. The mental feedback is overwhelming, leaving him disoriented. He realizes each card will give him a similar painful vision. Next up, he reaches for the Blood Manipulator card. This class uses its own life force to power its attacks. It offers incredible versatility in both close and long-range combat. Finally, he turns his attention to the Scarlet Spellbinder. This class unlocks mana, a new resource fueled by blood. Spellbinders are masters of versatile and powerful magic. With all the options laid out, Chip asks for his final decision. Novas leans toward the Night Warrior, the path of a swordsman. He recalls his past as a paladin, relying on his blade over magic. He believes sticking to what he knows is the safest bet, but Chip violently disagrees with his choice. He insists that the Blood Manipulator is the only real option. Novice refuses, knowing he can't afford to waste his precious health. Chip pleads, promising that, as the system itself, he knows best. He asks Novice to trust him just one more time. Novice falls silent, weighing his friend's desperate plea. He remembers the day they first met when Chip was much less demonic. He remembers his companion's guidance in countless battles, and he remembers that Chip's advice has never led him astray. He remembers a time when Chip's advice saved him from certain doom, a time when their bond was simple and his trust was absolute. With a heavy heart, he puts his faith in his friend one last time. The class change is immediate and incredibly painful. A new darker power surges through his very being. The transformation is a brutal, agonizing process. When the pain finally subsides, he feels completely different. A sinister red energy now flows through him, ready to be unleashed. Even his appearance has changed, his eyes now a piercing green. The system confirms his new class and a significant stat boost. He wonders if this agonizing change is standard for all new vampires. He unlocks a new skill, but it comes at a familiar bloody cost. But the notifications just keep on coming. His new class grants him a massive boost, increased resistance to the sun. He'll no longer burn, but the daylight will still weaken him. And it seems the system isn't done with the updates just yet. It seems his new diet comes with a detailed rewards program. He realizes one blood type offers a path to control his hunger. For the first time, he sees a glimmer of hope in this curse, but the system quickly reminds him who's in charge. He's now on a timer, a 24 countdown to feed. The penalty for failure looms over him like a monstrous shadow. He grits his teeth as the hunger begins to rise once more. Chip, however, seems to be enjoying this a little too much. Yeah. This little guy is definitely not on his side anymore. Novice realizes he has only himself to blame for trusting the corrupted system. The helpful companion he once knew is well and truly gone. With his new power, he sets out on a new path. He can now walk in the sun, a freedom he thought he'd lost forever. And with this newfound confidence, he decides it's time to return. He's determined to return to the village and uncover the truth. Meanwhile, the vampire leader decides it's time to go back. He smirks, satisfied that all the loose ends have been tied up. And by loose ends, he means anyone who might talk. Back at the Dusk Watch Guild, things are getting heated. Taxon is making a power play in Novice's absence. He boldly nominates himself as the next guild leader. An adventurer questions his ambition, asking about the current leader. Taxine scoffs, pointing out that old Bob didn't even show up, and it seems poor Bob has taken a wrong turn somewhere in the woods. Classic Bob. Taxon argues that as the strongest, he's the only one fit to lead. The other members admit that with crime on the rise, they need a strong hand, but Park clenches his fist, knowing Taxon's claims are built on lies. He steps forward, declaring that leadership is about more than just power. He reminds them that the guild exists to protect the community. To prove his point, he directs everyone's attention to the quest board. The low-paying quests have been ignored ever since Novice disappeared. Park insists the people will never feel safe with Tashin in charge. Tashin just turns the argument back on him, asking why they don't take the quests. He arrogantly claims his group is too important for such trivial work. He believes strength should be rewarded with the best-paying jobs, and it seems many of the other adventurers agree with his selfish logic. Park realizes he's losing the argument and that Taxon might actually win. So he makes a bold move, a challenge for the title. His comrade tries to stop him, but Park knows this is the only way. Taxon grins, accepting the duel with a sinister warning. Word of the fight quickly spreads throughout the town. The locals rush to the square eager to see the showdown. A massive crowd gathers as the two adventurers face off. Park draws his sword, ready to fight for the soul of the guild. Taxon smirks, eager to end this fight before the sun goes down. Park leaps into the air, bringing his blade down with righteous fury. His face is a mask of pure, unwavering determination, but Taxon blocks the powerful blow with almost no effort. The force of the parry sends Park's sword flying wide. Taxon mocks his opponent, calling him all muscle and no brain. The two exchange a flurry of blows, their blades clashing in the square. But Taxon is far more agile, dodging every one of Park's attacks. He's making this look easy. He draws a second sword, declaring that he's done playing around. Park stands his ground, ready to face the dual-wielding threat. Taxon unleashes a whirlwind of steel, overwhelming Park's defense. The attack connects, leaving a deep gash across Park's chest. With his blade at Park's throat, Tashin declares his victory. He boasts that his swords prove his strength and his right to lead. He turns away, dismissing his defeated foe as worthless scum. But Park isn't finished just yet, his spirit unbroken. He declares that if Novice were here, Taxon would be the one on the ground. Oh, fighting words. The mention of his rival's name sends Tashin into a rage. Park insists Novice was the true strongest, a hero to the very end. His words hit a nerve, and Tashin's face darkens with fury. With his last bit of strength, Park tells him he'll never measure up. Taxon silences him with a vicious kick to the face. He stands over his fallen friend, mocking that his protector is gone. He begins a brutal assault, showing no mercy to his defeated opponent. The other guild members can only watch, too afraid to intervene. But one adventurer has seen enough, ready to step in. Her friend holds her back as Taxon continues his cruel attack. He warns her that there's no point in them both getting hurt. She argues that someone has to act, but then she sees a figure approaching. Her eyes widen in disbelief at the sight of the man walking into the square. A cloaked figure arrives just as Taxon lands another vicious blow. The crowd parts as the stranger's voice rings out, ordering him to stop. Taxon is furious, demanding to know who dares interrupt his lesson. The figure pulls back his hood, revealing a familiar yet changed face. It's Novice, and he thinks Taxon is the one who needs to be taught. The two adventurers face off in the center of the town square. The crowd erupts in disbelief. Their hero has returned from the dead. Park can only smile through the pain, his faith in his friend rewarded. But Claire looks on with a mix of shock and absolute dread. Tashin scoffs, mocking Novice for showing up after being gone so long. Novice calmly points out how far his rival has fallen to hurt a comrade. But Taxon claims it was a fair fight and demands some answers of his own. He asks the one question on everyone's mind: where are the others? The question hits Nova's hard. Could Taxon know more than he's letting on? Taxon doesn't wait for an answer, charging in with a furious roar. He leaps into the air, ready to end this with a single powerful strike. But Novice dodges with ease, realizing this fight will be tricky. Taxon is stunned, his own body feeling impossibly slow in comparison. Novice blocks the next blow, his expression completely unreadable. Tashin screams at him to fight properly, clearly getting frustrated. Chip warns him that this isn't the time or place for a real fight. Novice continues to parry, refusing to go on the offensive. His friends notice he hasn't used a single one of his signature skills. Taxon grins, realizing his rival has come back much weaker. He decides it doesn't matter, unleashing a powerful new skill of his own. A wave of dark energy consumes the square, aimed right at Novice. Novice takes the hit, knowing he can't win this fight as he is now. He's thrown to the ground, defeated, as Taxon declares his victory. The crowd is stunned into silence. Their hero has fallen. Taxon walks away, ordering the crowd to make way for their new leader. Taxon smirks, boasting about his new responsibilities as leader. But Park ignores him, rushing to his fallen friend's side. He helps Novice up, worried by his pale and sickly appearance. He demands to know why Novice would fight when he was clearly unwell. Novice admits he knew from the start that he couldn't win. As they walk away, he knows it was too soon to reveal his hand. He forces a smile, saying he just wanted to protect his friend. But Chip has a much less heroic thought on his mind. Well, that's one way to show you care. The scent of his friend's blood calls to his new darker nature. Later, Novice recounts a censored version of his story to his friends. Park struggles to accept that their comrades are truly gone. Claire asks if the scene she witnessed was an act of vengeance. Novice admits he broke their code and can no longer be part of the order, but Park doesn't care. He's just glad his friend is alive. Novice is amused by their concern, feeling stronger than ever before. Suddenly, a thought strikes him, an idea taking shape. He overhears other adventurers talking about a new curfew. He reveals that even Taxon is too afraid to face this new threat. He excuses himself, claiming he needs to rest for the night. But Claire watches him go, a seed of suspicion in her eyes. Upstairs, Nova heads straight for the quest board. He finds a bounty for a killer just as his timer reminds him to feed. Talk about convenient. He decides if he must feed, it will be on someone who deserves it. Chip questions how he'll find this killer in the dark, but Novice is confident knowing he has a new advantage. Later that night, a scream for help proves him right. He watches from the balcony as a man flees in terror. The man regrets breaking the town's new curfew. He looks up and is stunned to see the town's hero watching him. He explains he was just trying to get his wallet when the killer appeared. The killer seems nervous, asking if Novice is really going to help. He leads Novice down a dark alley, but our boy is completely sure of himself. The man asks Novice to check out a suspicious area ahead, but it's a trap, and the killer strikes from behind. He's stunned to find Novice was ready for the attack. He wonders what gave him away, boasting about his perfect act. Novice calmly explains that he stinks of blood. Guess that's one downside to the job. The killer drops the act, ready for a real fight. He taunts Novice, saying he saw his pathetic fight earlier. He declares Novice will be a test for his new skills. But Novice just grins, saying without the sun, there's nothing holding him back. The two warriors face off in the empty town square. The killer scoffs, asking if Novice really thinks he's afraid. He boasts that even Taxon couldn't stop him as their blades clash. The two are locked in a furious exchange of blows. The killer realizes Novice is much faster now, questioning if he held back before. He leaps away, trying to create some distance between them. Novice takes to the rooftops, knowing he needs a tactical advantage. He dashes across the tiles with unnatural speed. The killer gives chase, leaping through the night sky. Novice continues his rooftop run, a blur against the moonlight. The killer mocks him, asking if he's already running away. He declares that since Novice has seen his face, he can't be allowed to live. He brings his sword down in a powerful, decisive art. Novice decides it's time to see what his new skills can do. He unleashes a blood slash, a wave of pure red energy. The killer is stunned by this sudden, unfamiliar power. He desperately tries to block the attack with his blade, but the force of the blow sends him staggering back. Nova's notes the skills are strong, but they come at a cost to his own health. The killer grins, realizing the truth behind Novice's earlier defeat. He declares that Novice didn't lose his skills after all. He unleashes a massive attack, a whirlwind of steel and energy, but Novice is far too fast, dodging the blow with ease. The killer notes that Novice's ranged attack is useless up close. He closes the distance ready to press his advantage, but Novice decides it's time to try another new trick. He activates his blood claw, parrying the blade with his bare hand. The killer laughs, mocking the strange red glow on his opponent's hand. But Novice's claw holds strong, stopping the killer's blade cold. He uses his speed to create some space, planning his next move. He knows he needs to find a way to slow his opponent down. The killer unleashes another flurry of attacks, taunting him. Novice decides to risk it all on a new untested skill. He activates blood control, sending a ribbon of energy forward. The killer is caught completely off guard by the strange attack. The ribbons of blood wrap around Novice's arm, ready to strike. They shoot out, ensnaring the killer's arm and body. Novice yanks him off balance, taking complete control of the fight. He pulls his foe in close, ready to end this little rooftop chase. The blood ribbons tighten their grip, leaving the killer helpless. The system confirms the skill drains his health, but it's clearly worth it. Novice admits the cost is high, but the results are undeniable. He launches the helpless killer high into the air. With his prey trapped, he declares the fight is finally over. He leaps into the sky, delivering the final decisive blow. The system confirms the kill and grants him a much-needed level up. He notes the stat gains are much better than they were before. Chip excitedly announces the arrival of yet another new skill, but this one, Blood Cannon, cost half his health to use. Talk about a last resort. He decides to save his new stat points for later. But Chip reminds him of the most important task at hand. The system confirms his quest is complete, resetting the 24-hour timer, and the rare blood type grants him a new permanent stat boost. He stands over the fallen killer, knowing he's safe for another night. Chip complains about the lost bounty, but Novice knows they can't risk being seen. He flees into the night, knowing he needs a permanent solution for this curse. And his first step is to find out exactly what Taksin knows. He dashes across the rooftops with his newfound speed, slipping back into his room at the guild hall undetected. But it seems his late-night activities haven't gone completely unnoticed. Claire watches from her window, her suspicion growing with every passing moment. The next morning, she walks through the town square lost in thought. The image of Novice as a monster is still burned into her mind. Her thoughts are interrupted by a familiar voice calling her name. It's Park, who mentions another guild meeting is about to start. He reveals the meeting is about the killer who is apparently struck again. The news stops Claire dead in her tracks. She realizes with dawning horror where the body was found. Meanwhile, Novice is training with his comrades, his stats halved by the sun. He finds himself facing a rather toothy dire wolf. The beast lunges, its eyes glowing with feral rage. Novice is thrown back, struggling to hold his ground with his weakened body. His friends see he's in trouble and decide to jump in. One of the other adventurers charges forward to help. He brings his blade down, finishing the beast in a single strike. He looks at Nova's, thinking that maybe he's not ready to be back in the field. Park helps his friend up, apologizing for dragging him into this. Nova's forces a smile, insisting he's fine, but he's clearly overwhelmed. Later, Park slams his fist on a table, his patience clearly wearing thin. He suggests a brilliant idea. They should all take a quest together. Claire is skeptical, questioning if that's a good idea for Novice, but Park insists that with their help, Novice will get back on his feet. Novice agrees, knowing he must learn to fight with his new limitations. Park takes his silence as a yes, but notes they'll need a 5-person team. He quickly volunteers 2 other adventurers to join their little party. The 2 new recruits don't look particularly thrilled about being drafted, but the mention of his old title triggers a dark memory of his recent past. He quietly tells his friends to stop. With a flash of fangs, he insists they never call him Protector again. And so the party of 5 finds themselves battling a pack of dire wolves. Park is in his element, cutting through the beasts with ease. He gives a confident thumbs up, clearly enjoying the fight. Novice, however, just gives a quiet, detached nod. Claire uses her skills to gather materials from their fallen foes. As dusk falls, they celebrate a successful hunt, their bags full. But a sudden desperate scream for help cuts through the quiet woods. A terrified woman bursts from the trees running for her life. One of the adventurers catches her asking what's happening. She explains a giant bird is attacking her village, Yanville. Their own guild is fighting, but the monster is just too powerful. Claire asks for a description of the creature. The woman describes a beast with wings and the ability to breathe fire, a terrifying combination to be sure. Park's face turns grim as he realizes what they're up against. The creature is a griffin, a powerful and legendary beast. The others realize this is a grade B monster far beyond their quest. But Park doesn't hesitate for a second, stepping forward to help. He knows that if they don't act, the entire village will be lost. He tells Novus to go back for reinforcements, knowing he's too weak to fight. But Novus knows that with the sun gone, he's back at full strength. He can't explain his sudden power, so he just promises to be quick. Park smiles, his faith in his friend completely unwavering. The rest of the party rushes toward the village, knowing time is running out. Novus dashes through the woods, worried that even his friends aren't enough for a griffin. He pushes himself to the limit, hoping they can just hold on. He finally arrives back at the Duskwatch Guildhall. He slams the doors open, screaming for their new self-appointed leader. Inside, the other guild members are just relaxing, completely oblivious. Taksin looks up annoyed that his drinking has been interrupted. Novus explains the dire situation, demanding they send reinforcements immediately. One of the adventurers stands to help, but Taksin orders him to stop. He argues that helping a rival guild offers them no benefit. This guy's all business. Novus is furious, reminding him that their own comrades are in danger. But Tashin coldly states they went on their own, and he won't risk lives for no gain. He smirks, telling Novus to go be a hero himself if he cares so much. The memory of his friends calling him protector flashes in his mind. Chip points out the obvious. Without help, his friends are doomed. Novus grits his teeth knowing he has to do something. He gives Taksin a final chilling warning before he leaves. Dashing through the streets, he tells Chip to pour all his points into agility. A surge of red energy envelopes him as he becomes a blur of pure speed. Meanwhile, the griffin roars, its body wreathed in flames. The beast lands, facing off against Park and the other brave adventurers. The village is in ruins, the local fighters defeated and desperate. The griffin unleashes a massive vortex of fire from its beak. The attack barrels toward the ground in a devastating explosion. Park and his comrades are thrown back, unable to even reach the flying beast. One of the adventurers tries to block the flames, but his shield shatters instantly. Claire and the other archers are helpless, their arrows burning up mid-flight. Novus races through the forest, a blur of motion. He knows his friends can't handle this alone. They need a way to bring the flying beast down, but the griffin's fiery assault keeps them pinned. The memory of his past failures fuels his resolve. He gathers his dark power, vowing to never lose anyone again. A torrent of pure, unadulterated fury is unleashed. He knows this attack won't be enough to kill the beast, but it will give his friends the opening they desperately need. He activates his most powerful skill, the blood cannon. Just as Park prepares for a desperate final charge, a massive beam of red energy screams past his head. The attack slams into the griffin with devastating force. Park and the others can only stare in stunned silence. Claire's eyes widen, unable to believe what she's seeing. The impact creates a cataclysmic explosion on the battlefield. When the dust settles, the mighty griffin has been slain, but the adventurers realize the final blow came from the forest. Claire scans the treeline, but their mysterious savior is gone. Novus walks away feeling the heavy cost of his new power. He clenches his fist, knowing how close his friends came to death, and he knows exactly who to blame for abandoning them. The system rewards his efforts with a massive experience boost. Back at the guild, a tense crowd has gathered for an announcement. The guild leader, Old Bob, finally makes an appearance. He prepares to announce a major change in leadership. Taksin is officially named the new sub-guild leader. Well, that's just great. The other members seem to accept the decision, albeit reluctantly. But Novus and his friends know this is a disaster waiting to happen. Tashin wastes no time announcing his first official mission. He announces a direct order from the king that all members must obey. With a confident smirk, he declares they must subjugate a growing threat. Novus knows Tashin is only acting out of obligation, not a sense of duty. The plan is to split into smaller parties to hunt down a goblin infestation. Old Bob confirms that Tashin will be in charge of assigning the teams. As Tashin begins the assignments, a sense of unease fills the hall. Park and his friends realize they're being deliberately excluded from the main group. He assigns Park and Claire to Squad B, officially splitting them up. And with a sinister grin, he places Novice on his own team, Squad A. The blatant power play leaves his friends completely stunned. Claire tries to object, but Park holds her back, knowing it's a trap. Novice is furious, wondering what his rival could possibly be planning, but he realizes this might be his only chance to get some answers. Taxon's smug expression shows he's enjoying every second of this. Claire can only watch, hoping her worst fears aren't about to be realized. The guild leader gives the order. They move out at midday. As the guild prepares, Novice's friends look on with deep concern. Novice's team is the first to leave, tasked with scouting the western path. He finds himself surrounded by a group of unfamiliar, hardened adventurers. Taxin gives the other party leaders their designated locations for the hunt. Novice watches his friends from a distance, now completely isolated. They tell him to be careful, promising to keep an eye on Taxin's movements. With his new team assembled, Novice knows it's time to uncover the truth. The party makes its way deep into the forest, stopping for a brief rest. Taxin suddenly signals for silence, sensing they're near the goblin hideout. Nova spots fresh tracks, and Chip reminds him of his weakness in the sun. Suddenly, the bushes rustle, revealing a horde of hidden goblins. One of the adventurers cries out a warning, spotting the ambush. The team immediately springs into action, charging toward the threat. And with a unified cry, they leap into the fray to face the goblin swarm. The goblins are vicious, their eyes glowing with malice. The adventurers clash with the horde in a flurry of steel. Novice cuts through the enemy ranks, though his movements feel sluggish. His new comrades fight with a brutal practiced efficiency. One of the goblins breaks away, and Tashin orders them to give chase. As they run, the sunlight drains Novice's strength his stats have. The team pushes deeper into the forest, closing in on their prey. Tashin calls out an order, telling Novice to flank the remaining goblins. Novice follows the command, cutting down another monster. But behind him, Tashin gives a silent, sinister signal. Looks like this wasn't a team-building exercise after all. His men acknowledge the order, preparing to spring the trap. A heavy club is suddenly thrown from behind, and another teammate lunges at him from the side. Novice's eyes widen as he realizes the true nature of this mission. The blow connects a brutal strike to the head. He's sent crashing to the ground, his consciousness fading. The last thing he sees is the smug face of his rival, a face twisted by ambition and a hunger for power. When Novice wakes, he finds himself bound to a tree. His supposed comrades are gathered around a campfire, their work done. He struggles against the ropes, realizing they're not ordinary. He's completely helpless, tied up, and left for dead. Taxin approaches, pleased to see his victim is finally awake. He explains the ropes are designed to seal magic and drain strength. Novice demands to know what this betrayal is all about. Tashin claims he's acting on orders from the king himself. The accusation leaves Novice stunned into silence. He remembers the day the king granted him this power. He screams that Tashin must be lying, but Tashin reveals the final devastating truth. He was told he could steal the system's power by ending Novice's life. Tashin grins, believing the king's intel will make him unstoppable. He leaves Novice tied to a tree, a trophy of his ambition. He mocks the great system user, now helpless before him, but he assures Novice he won't be ending things just yet. Novice can only spit insults, calling his rival a coward. Taxin just scoffs, asking if it's cowardice or just being smart. He explains he has to play the hero for the other adventurers. His plan is simple. Make it look like the weak Novas deserted them, a classic PR move. Then his friends will find the body, completing the perfect tragedy. Novice realizes Tashin must have been behind the cave quest as well, but Tashin plays dumb, claiming he has no idea what cave he means. He then thanks Novice for dealing with those escaped bandits. The horrifying truth clicks into place for our hero. Taxon's sinister grin confirms he was behind it all. The memory of the bandit leader's words flashes in his mind, the claim that the bandits worked directly with the guild, and now he knows exactly who their contact was. Taxon admits the bandits were a liability he needed gone. He mockingly thanks Novice for cleaning up his mess for him. His business finished, he orders 2 of his men to follow him. He walks off ready to claim his new title as the guild's hero. He leaves one of his men behind with a simple order. Watch him. Novice is left to his fate, his life spared only for the moment. The remaining guard taunts him, telling him not to bother struggling. He admits he loves seeing heroes like Nova's fall. Guess he's not a fan of the genre. But Nova's eyes burn with hatred, vowing to make tax and pay. As the day ends, the sun finally begins to set. A new system message appears. He's no longer weakened by the sun. Chip urges him to use his restored strength to break free. With a surge of power, the magic sealing ropes begin to snap. But the more he struggles, the deeper the ropes dig into his skin. Chip confirms his fears. The ropes are sealing his skills completely. He slumps in defeat, feeling like even the system has abandoned him. But a sudden notification sends a jolt of terror through him. The system's timer is back, demanding he feed within 6 hours. He realizes with dawning horror that the clock is already ticking. He looks over at his guard, the only meal on the menu. He desperately pleads with the man to let him go, warning him of the danger. But the guard just tells him to be quiet, completely unimpressed. A dark aura begins to leak from Novice as his hand transforms. His eyes glow red, a sign of the monster fighting to break free. He grits his teeth, trying to hold back the horrifying transformation. The timer ticks down, his willpower fading with every passing second. His vision begins to turn red, the hunger taking over. He sees the guard not as a man, but as his only salvation. He gives one final desperate warning, his voice strained with effort. The guard tells him to shut up, clearly not a believer in dramatic foreshadowing. Novas wonders what happens if he fails, death or something far worse. With only an hour left, the pain becomes unbearable. The final seconds tick away, sealing his fate. The system confirms the quest has failed. He's out of time. He begs the guard one last time, his humanity slipping away. The guard finally senses the danger, asking what's wrong with him. A wave of red energy erupts from Novice's body. His face contorts in agony as the curse takes hold. The guard can only watch in horror, realizing his fatal mistake. Nobis' fangs extend, his eyes burning with pure, unadulterated bloodlust. The guard raises his weapon, but it's far too late for a fight. He's frozen in terror, facing a true monster. The system announces the penalty for his failure. A forced transformation has begun. Meanwhile, Park and Claire's squad is busy with their own goblin problem. Claire lands a decisive blow on one of the creatures. She confirms that was the last of their assigned targets. Park catches his breath, checking to see if his team is alright. The others confirm they're fine, ready to move on. Claire reminds them of their orders, regroup at the center of the forest. But Park can't shake his concern, asking if Novice will be safe with Taksin. Claire admits she's worried too, knowing Novice isn't at his full strength. A classic case of putting the fox in charge of the henhouse. Park's resolve hardens. They need to get there before it's too late. The party presses on, a sense of urgency in their steps. Suddenly, one of their comrades cries out a warning. Ahead, they see another guild party completely overwhelmed by goblins. Park doesn't hesitate, ordering his team to help their struggling comrades. They leap into the fray, joining the desperate fight. The other party's mage is out of mana, wondering where the other squads are. One of the adventurers is caught off guard, taking a nasty hit. A much larger goblin leaps in to finish the job. The wounded adventurer can only brace for the final blow, but a flash of purple energy cuts through the horde. One of Taksin's men arrives, mocking the others for their weakness. The struggling adventurers are just relieved that help has finally arrived. The man cuts through the remaining goblins with contemptuous ease. He relishes the moment, seeing this as a perfect opportunity. He smirks, knowing their desperation makes him look like a hero. With a final slash, he clears the last of the monsters. The other adventurers rush toward their savior. They thank him, admitting they would have been wiped out without him. But just then, Park's group arrives on the scene. He immediately demands to know where Novice is. Taxon's man begins the lie, claiming Novice panicked and ran away. Claire immediately calls him out, refusing to believe the lie. Park knows his friend is in grave danger in his current state, but Taxon's man stops him, insisting they make camp before nightfall. Park tries to argue, his voice filled with desperation. The man pulls rank, reminding him who's in charge now. He turns away with a smug grin, leaving Park powerless to act. Forced to obey, the adventurers begin setting up camp. Some try to keep their spirits up, but the mood is tense. Nothing like a little fishing to forget your friend was left for dead. Park channels his frustration into training. His swings filled with worry. As night falls, the camp settles into an uneasy silence. His friends feel helpless knowing Taksin has them trapped. Park realizes that, without Novice, they have to step up. They must get stronger to protect themselves and their friend while the guild sleeps peacefully back in town, unaware of the danger their comrades are in. Back at the camp, 2 guards stand watch over the sleeping adventurers, but one of Taxon's men sneaks out of his tent. He tells another to cover for him, his intentions clear. The man slips away into the darkness, a predator on the hunt. He walks through the woods dreaming of becoming a system user himself. He's confident that tonight, that power will finally be his. But when he arrives, he's met with a horrifying scene. He demands to know what happened, his eyes wide with shock. He sees the bloody broken ropes hanging from the tree. He draws his sword screaming Novice's name into the darkness. He follows the tracks, his heart pounding in his chest. He steps in a pool of blood realizing it's still fresh. He finds the body of the guard realizing Novice killed him. He calls Novice a murderer, twisting his former title into an insult. He looks around suddenly realizing he's not alone in these woods. A monstrous figure stumbles through the dark woods. Taxon's man stands ready calling out Novice's name. He accuses our hero of being a hypocrite all along. He takes a confident step forward, ready for a fight, but his expression quickly turns to absolute shock. Novice unleashes a horrifying inhuman roar. He lunges forward in a blur of red fury. The attack is swift, brutal, and overwhelming. Guess he was hungry. His eyes burn with a monstrous, insatiable hunger. The man screams, trying to push his attacker away. Novice leaps back, taking the man's sword for himself. The terrified adventurer questions what he's become. He realizes Novice doesn't even look human anymore. Novice just grins as the man asks if he was a monster all along. Taxon's man declares this showdown was inevitable. He unleashes a powerful swing of his own blade, but Novice dodges with terrifying, unnatural speed. The man can't believe how fast his opponent is. The two clash in a furious exchange of steel. He realizes Novice's strength is just as monstrous as his speed. Meanwhile, back at the camp, the adventurers prepared for a morning assault, but they were caught off guard by a surprise goblin attack. Park cuts through the horde, a blur of golden armor. He catches his breath, confirming they've pushed the enemy back. The survivors regroup, wondering what their next move should be. One of the adventurers asks a very important question. Where is Taxon? The others look around, realizing their leader is nowhere to be found. Park learns that no one has seen Taxon since the ambush began. He decides he and Claire will search for him while the others recover. Claire suspects Taxon either fled or is somehow involved with Novice. They arrive to find a scene of utter devastation. Park can only wonder what could have happened here. Claire finds one of Taxon's men, assuming it was a monster attack, but a sudden sound puts them both on high alert. They turn to find their friend, Novice, lying among the fallen. Park rushes to his side, desperate to see if he's alive. Novice seems unconscious, a faint, unsettling smile on his lips. He lifts his friend, telling Claire they have to get him back to the village. But Claire is frozen, her eyes fixed on something else entirely. She trembles, unable to process the full horror of the scene. She reveals they no longer have to worry about Taxon's other man. They make their way back to the relative peace of Mosswood Village. Novice is brought to an infirmary to recover from his ordeal. He finally wakes with a groan startling a worried Park. The sunlight burns his eyes, a painful reminder of his curse. Park quickly closes the curtain, confused by his friend's reaction. Claire wastes no time asking if he remembers what happened. Novice seems dazed, his mind a complete blank, but a horrifying memory of his transformation flashes in his mind. Park explains they found him as the only survivor of a beast attack, but Claire presses him, asking if he remembers what he did. The question triggers a sharp, blinding pain in his head. He's flooded with fragmented memories of the brutal fight. Park tells her to stop, deciding to let their friend rest. They leave the room, promising to check on him later. The moment they're gone, Novice calls on his demonic sidekick. He checks his status, realizing he's gained 4 levels from the fight. Chip asks why he's hiding the truth from his friends. Novice admits he remembers everything, but he wasn't in control. He worries that next time, he won't be able to stop himself. He's terrified of what might happen if he hurts someone he cares about. Chip asks what their next move is as Novice prepares to leave. He knows he's too dangerous to stay here any longer. His only option now is to find a cure for this curse, and that means hunting down the very vampires who started this mess. That night, the Duskwatch Guildhall is quiet and still. Park and Claire knock on Novice's door, but there's no answer. Deciding not to wait, Park tries the handle. Claire gives a silent nod of approval. They push the door open, calling out their friend's name. But the room is empty. All of his belongings gone. Claire spots something left behind on the bed, a note. Park reaches out, his metal gauntlet closing around the letter. The note is a simple, heartbreaking farewell. A new day dawns over a harsh, unforgiving desert. A group of adventurers calls out to a figure in the distance. It's Novice running to join his new temporary party. His new comrades aren't exactly thrilled to have a low-rank porter with them. The leader tells them to quiet down as Novice reflects on his choice. He's now forced to feed on monsters, but it's better than the alternative. The story flashes back to 1 week prior. Novice and Chip make their way through a dark forest. Chip reminds him that his worst fear came true. He lost control. It was this realization that forced him to leave his friends behind, but Chip questions his plan, asking how he'll ever find the vampires. Novice pulls up his status, revealing he has an ace up his sleeve. He's been saving his stat points, and now it's time for an upgrade. Chip gets a comical power-up as Novice boosts his strength and agility. He then dumps all his remaining points into his new sense stat. The investment pays off, unlocking a brand new skill, Bloodhound Tracking. Nova smirks, telling Chip he had a plan all along. For days, he'd used his new skill to search for any trace of the vampires. His tracking led him to the scene of a recent struggle, but he found only a fallen adventurer. No sign of his true targets. Chip suggests a quick meal to keep his hunger in check. Proactive thinking for a demonic sidekick. Novice kneels, preparing to do what he must to survive. He takes the man's adventurer tag, a potential key for later. Their search eventually leads them to a bustling new town. But asking around for clues proves to be a complete dead end. He decides on a new strategy, find the vampires the same way he did before, by joining a guild and taking on the most dangerous quests. He knows that far from home, no one will recognize the fallen hero, and that's how he ended up as a porter for this new party. One of the adventurers tells him to keep up and stay out of the fight. Another member is wounded but dismisses it as a minor injury. But for Novice, the scent of blood is a constant dangerous temptation. After the hunt, the party leader pulls him aside for a private chat. He reveals their plan to take on a rank C quest to level up. He invites Novice along, warning him of the increased danger. But Novice knows this is exactly what he's been waiting for. He accepts the offer without a moment's hesitation. The leader laughs, telling him he can just carry the bags as usual. The next day, the party sets out, their spirits high. They're all eager for the promotion that awaits them. The leader points out their objective, gathering eggs from a high nest, but one of the members questions the quest's high rank. A familiar sense of dread washes over Novice. This feels just like the cave. The leader just grins, brushing off their concerns. The party approaches a strange, jagged mountain peak. They begin their climb, unaware of the danger that likely awaits. The leader announces their meeting point is just ahead, but Novice's new senses pick up something else on the wind. They spot another party of adventurers waiting for them. The other group complains they're late, blaming the new guy. The two leaders greet each other, a meeting of different guilds. The new leader, Kaiser, introduces the rest of his party, and it's a group of faces Novice knows all too well. He can't believe his eyes, frozen in absolute shock. One of the adventurers in the other party is just as stunned. It's Claire, and she's found the friend she thought was lost forever. She's overwhelmed, knowing she has to warn him about what she's learned. Kaiser asks if she was looking for Novice this whole time. She begins to explain how he just vanished without a word. Novice panics, realizing she might expose his secret right here. But his party leader cuts in, eager to get on with the quest. The other adventurers seem relaxed, thinking it's just a simple egg hunt. They arrive at a web-covered cave that screams, not an easy quest. Kaiser's party enters first, warning everyone to stay alert. Novice and his group follow them into the ominous darkness. The system confirms his stats are back to normal, much to Chip's delight. Inside the cave, Novice's enhanced senses are on high alert. Claire watches him from a distance, trying to find a moment alone. One of the adventurers asks about their supposed objective. An archer from Kaiser's party scans the area for any sign of a nest, but she finds a horrifying skull-faced spider creature instead. Novice reacts instantly, cutting the monster down in a flash. He grits his teeth, knowing this is only the beginning. His senses tell him there are many, many more nearby. He screams a desperate warning to the others. A massive swarm of the creatures descends from the ceiling above. Kaiser orders his team to stay close as the spiders swarm them. The adventurers leap into action, cutting through the monstrous horde. Each member of the party fights with practiced deadly skill. Claire watches Novice, realizing his speed is nothing like his fight with Taksin. The first wave is defeated, and the leaders check for any injuries. One of Kaiser's comrades thanks Novice for the life-saving warning. The other leader reminds them this is why the quest is so dangerous. The combined party ventures deeper into the web-covered darkness. Claire pulls Novice aside, revealing she was searching for him in secret. Chip, ever the romantic, suggests she might have a crush on him. She recalls the horrifying scene at the bandit camp, telling him she saw everything. With a look of understanding, she says she knows what he's become. But before she can say the word, another adventurer calls out. She quickly runs off, promising to talk later when they're safe. Novas is left reeling, wondering how she could possibly know his secret. The party finally arrives at their objective, a cavern filled with eggs, but their prize is guarded by a massive sleeping spider queen. The adventurers wonder how they can get the eggs without waking the beast. Novice's party leader remembers a strategy he once heard about. He explains that touching any of the webs will instantly alert the queen. The others agree that fighting the creature head-on is not an option. He lays out a plan. One team will sneak around the sleeping monster. They'll grab a single egg to act as a diversion, luring the queen away. As the queen gives chase, the second team will grab the rest of the eggs. Then they'll smash one of the stolen eggs on the ground. A mage from Kaiser's party questions the logic of this move. The leader explains the queen is most sensitive to the scent of her own kind. The smell will enrage her, giving the second team time to escape. The mage seems to recognize the risky but clever strategy. Claire turns to Novas, asking if he thinks the plan will actually work. Novas's party leader explains that both roles are equally important. Kaiser agrees to be the bait, sweetened by the promise of a bigger reward. The two leaders shake on it, sealing their temporary alliance. But Novice volunteers to go with the other team, needing to talk to someone. He's worried about Claire and what she was trying to tell him earlier. Kaiser's team moves in, ready to start the diversion. One of the adventurers carefully lifts an egg from its nest. He prepares to throw it, hoping to lure the queen away. But the massive spider queen's eyes snap open instantly. The beast awakens, its face a mask of pure, unadulterated rage. Novice realizes the sheer power of the creature before them. The other leader screams for his team to make their move. The adventurer throws the egg, but the plan goes horribly wrong. The queen smashes the egg on the ground instead of giving chase, and with a mighty slam, she blocks the only way out. The second team has already gathered the remaining eggs. The leader smirks as Kaiser's team realizes the horrifying truth. They've been played. The other party escapes through a higher passage, leaving them for dead. Kaiser screams in fury, calling them traitors. He ignites his blade, knowing they have no choice but to fight. But his comrades are frozen, wondering how they can possibly win. The spider queen looms over them, a monstrous, impossible foe. The beast attacks, its massive legs crashing down on the trapped adventurers. The queen descends, ready to wipe them all out. The remaining party members brace for the inevitable assault. A massive bladed leg descends from the darkness. The adventurers scatter, desperately trying to avoid the blow. The attack slams into the ground with cataclysmic force. But two of the adventurers aren't fast enough to escape the hit. Novice and the others can only watch in horror as their comrades fall. Kaiser screams for his team to split up and dodge the attack. The creature's leg slams down with devastating force. The archer is caught completely off guard by a new threat. A sticky web shoots out from the queen's abdomen. He's instantly ensnared, unable to move a muscle. The queen's leg strikes a swift and fatal blow. He's hoisted into the air, his final pleas echoing in the cave. Kaiser roars in fury, knowing they have no choice but to fight. A blonde warrior readies her crossbow for a single decisive shot. She unleashes a powerful bolt, hoping to end this quickly. But the spider queen catches the attack with its bare hand. Well, that's not ideal. The adventurers are stunned by the creature's impossible reflexes. It snaps the bolt in two, a show of contemptuous strength. The queen retaliates with a volley of web projectiles. Kaiser deflects a shot, realizing they can't even get close. Claire is forced on the defensive, kicking another web away. Novice dodges, knowing he'll have to use his full power to win. But the blonde warrior's foot gets caught in a hidden web. She's completely stuck, a perfect target for the monster. The Spider Queen looms over her, ready for another kill. She braces for the end, knowing she can't escape in time, but a flash of red energy blocks the devastating blow. She looks up, her eyes wide with disbelief. Novice holds back the massive leg, his secret finally revealed. The warrior can't believe the porter has this much power. She screams a warning as the queen prepares another attack. Novice activates his blood slash, ready to go on the offensive. He unleashes a massive wave of pure red energy. The attack screams through the air, aimed right for the queen's head. The blow connects, leaving a deep gash on the monster's face. The Spider Queen lets out a horrifying shriek of pure agony. Novice lands, his eyes burning with a cold, deadly focus. The blonde warrior can't believe what she's seeing, noting his incredible strength. But Claire knows this is something new, something far more dangerous. He blocks another blow with his blood claw, confirming his suspicions. But even his most powerful skills can't break through the creature's tough hide. He's thrown back by the sheer force of the attack, his health draining. He realizes they've barely made a dent, and his ultimate skill is too risky. So he activates blood control, accepting he's no longer his old self. Ribbons of red energy wrap around his arm, a new kind of power. He knows he can't fight like a paladin anymore. He has to fight like a monster. The queen raises its massive leg for another devastating strike, but Novas unleashes his blood ribbons, whipping them through the air. He ensnares the creature's leg, stopping the attack in its tracks. The beast roars in frustration, unable to break free from his grip. The other adventurers are splattered with the creature's acidic blood. Novice grits his teeth, declaring that he's done holding back. The queen unleashes a deafening roar, shaking the very cavern. Its massive maw opens, a horrifying promise of their end. Kaiser sees a glimmer of hope, thinking they might actually win this. But Chip, ever the pessimist, warns him not to celebrate just yet. The queen brings another spiked leg crashing down toward Novice. He meets the attack head-on, his blade glowing with dark energy. But his strike isn't deep enough to do any real damage. He's forced on the defensive, dodging a flurry of attacks from all sides. The others can only watch, wondering what kind of adventurer he truly is. Claire knows the truth. He can't possibly keep this pace up for long. Novus realizes the monster is too fast for him to land a decisive blow, and Chip confirms the other problem. His health is dropping dangerously low. Claire watches with dread, knowing that even this incredible power isn't enough. Kaiser decides he's seen enough, preparing to back Novice up. But Claire screams for him to wait, a look of sheer panic on her face. Novice's health continues to plummet as he holds the line alone. Kaiser ignores the warning, leaping in for a heroic strike. The Spider Queen opens its massive maw, ready to retaliate. It lunges forward with a horrifying lightning-fast attack. The blow connects, a devastating and fatal strike. So much for the heroic rescue. The blonde warrior can only scream as her leader is taken down. Novice grits his teeth, another failure weighing on his soul. He's forced to accept that he's not strong enough to save everyone. The queen moves in to finish the job on the fallen Kaiser. Its massive legs come crashing down with brutal finality. The ground shatters, leaving no doubt about the adventurer's fate. Novus calls on Chip, deciding to try a new desperate combination. He merges his blood claw and blood control skills into one. Leaping into the air, he prepares to unleash this new power. He brings the enhanced claw down with everything he has left. The attack tears through the monster's leg in a spray of green fluid. But the cost is immense, his health now critically low, and the system confirms his ultimate skill is now completely offline. Well, that's just perfect. The wounded beast turns its rage on a new target. It locks eyes with the blonde warrior, its next victim chosen. Nova screams out a desperate warning to Claire. The queen's leg descends, a blur of deadly motion, but Claire shoves the other warrior out of the way, taking her place. The attack connects, sending her flying across the cavern. Her eyes burn with defiance even in the face of certain doom. She lies wounded on the ground, staring up at her end. The Spider Queen raises its leg for the final crushing blow. The attack slams down, shaking the very foundations of the cave. The Spider Queen lets out a final deafening shriek of rage, but Novas has already moved, catching his fallen friend in his arms. Claire looks up at him, her strength fading fast. He tells her to save her breath, that she's badly hurt. He looks at the wounded beast, vowing to get them both out alive, but she knows the truth. His power is running out. Novus grits his teeth, insisting he won't fail again. She grabs his arm, her voice filled with a strange urgency. He turns, completely caught off guard by her sudden strength, and then he sees it, fangs as she offers him a way out. Well, that's one way to ask for a date. Novus is stunned into absolute silence. She smiles, telling him to use her blood to regain his power. His mind races, trying to process this impossible reveal. He wonders how she could possibly know his darkest secret.
Alright, that's the end of the story. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.